The stars had always been there, watching Earth from a distance that seemed impossible to cross. For thousands of years, humans looked up and wondered if they were alone. The answer came on a Tuesday morning when every screen on the planet displayed the same message in every language known to mankind. We are the Galactic Council. We come in peace. You are not alone. Captain Taemin stood on the bridge of the Horizon, Earth's first ship capable of faster-than-light travel. It was not much to look at compared to the massive vessels that now surrounded the Council station. The Horizon was built from whatever materials humanity could spare, with engines that barely worked and hull plating that looked like it might fall apart at any moment. But it flew, and that was all that mattered. "Captain, we are approaching the station," said the navigator, keeping his eyes fixed on the readings. The station was enormous, larger than any city on Earth. It gleamed in the light of a distant star, a structure of impossible engineering that made human achievements look like child's play. Taemin straightened his uniform. It was not fancy. Earth could not afford fancy. But it was clean, and it represented his world. "Open a channel," he said. The view screen flickered to life. An alien face appeared, covered in scales that shifted colors like oil on water. The creature had 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern on its face. It looked at Taemin with what might have been curiosity or might have been disgust. "Welcome, representative of Earth," the alien said. Its voice was translated instantly by the communication device the Council had provided. "I am Council Member Bekthor of the Vestian Empire. We have been observing your species for some time. Thank you for the invitation." Taemin replied, choosing his words carefully. "We are honored to join the galactic community." Bekthor's scales rippled. "Join no human. You misunderstand. You are here to be evaluated. The Council will decide if your species is worth the resources required to uplift you to our level. Many species never pass this evaluation." The channel closed before Taemin could respond. He looked at his crew. There were only 15 humans aboard the Horizon. 15 people to represent 8 billion. The weight of that responsibility pressed down on his shoulders like a physical force. "Did that alien just threaten us?" asked Minna, the ship's engineer. She was young, barely 25, but she knew the Horizon better than anyone. She had helped build it with her own hands. "Not threatened," Taemin said slowly. "Warned. There is a difference." The Horizon docked at the station without incident. The process was automated, which was good because the human crew had no idea how anything actually worked. They had learned to fly by trial and error, losing 3 test pilots in the process. Every person on the Horizon knew they might not make it home. The docking bay was full of ships from 100 different worlds. Some were sleek and beautiful, shaped like flowing water frozen in metal. Others were brutal and angular, covered in weapons. The Horizon looked like garbage next to them, and Taemin knew it. "Stay together," he told his crew as they prepared to exit. "Be polite. Do not touch anything unless invited. And remember, we are not just representing our countries. We are representing our entire species." The station's atmosphere was breathable, which was a relief. The Council had assured them it would be, but Taemin had not been certain until he took his first breath outside the ship. The air tasted slightly metallic and smelled faintly of ozone. The docking bay was full of aliens. They moved past the humans without looking at them, as if Earth's representatives were beneath notice. A few glanced in their direction, but their expressions were unreadable. Taemin wondered what they saw when they looked at humans. Primitives, savages, potential? A robot approached them, hovering above the ground on some kind of anti-gravity device. "Follow me," it said in perfect but emotionless human speech. "The Council is waiting." They walked through corridors that seemed to stretch forever. The walls displayed images of 1,000 different worlds, each one beautiful and strange. Taemin tried not to stare, but it was difficult. These were places humanity had only dreamed about, and now they were real and everywhere. The Council chamber was a massive dome with seats arranged in a circle. Hundreds of aliens sat in those seats, representing civilizations that had conquered the stars while humans were still learning to make fire. At the center of the chamber was a small platform where Taemin and his crew were directed to stand. "People of Earth," a voice boomed from all directions at once. "You stand before the Galactic Council. We have brought you here to determine your worth. Your species is young and reckless. You are among yourselves. You poison your own world. You have barely left your home planet. Give us one reason why we should waste our resources on creatures such as you." Taemin felt anger rising in his chest, but he pushed it down. Anger would not help. "We are a young species," he admitted. "We have made mistakes, but we learn from those mistakes. We have come here not to beg for your help, but to offer our own. Whatever we lack in technology, we make up for in determination. We do not give up. We do not surrender, and we do not abandon our own. Several aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. One of them, a creature that looked like it was made of crystal, spoke up. Bold words from a species that cannot even protect its own planet. What could you possibly offer us? Before Taman could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the station. The lights shifted to red, and the voice that had been so calm and commanding before now sounded urgent. Security breach in Sector 7. All personnel evacuate immediately. This is not a drill. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens rushed for the exits, pushing and shoving each other in their panic. Through the viewports, Taman could see ships approaching the station. They were dark and angular, covered in weapons that were already charging up to fire. Pirates, someone shouted. The Raktar pirates have found us. The council members were fleeing, leaving the humans standing alone on the platform. Taman looked at his crew. They were scared. He was scared. But they had not come all this way to run at the first sign of danger. Mina, can you get us back to the horizon? He asked. Maybe if the docking bay is not on fire, she replied. Then we run there. Everyone else with me. If there are people trapped in Sector 7, we are getting them out. Captain, we do not even know where Sector 7 is, one of the crew members protested. Tae-min smiled grimly. Then we will figure it out, move. They ran through the corridors as explosions rocked the station. The wall shook and the lights flickered. Other aliens ran past them, fleeing toward the docking bays. None of them were heading toward Sector 7. Tae-min grabbed a passing alien, a small creature with 6 legs and fur that stood on end. Which way to Sector 7? He demanded. The alien pointed with one of its legs, its eyes wide with fear. That way, but you cannot go there. The hull has been breached. Everyone there is already dead. Tae-min let the alien go and ran in the direction it had pointed. His crew followed without hesitation. They found Sector 7 quickly enough. The corridor leading to it was filled with smoke and debris. Through the haze, Tae-min could see movement. There were survivors trapped behind a collapsed bulkhead. Help us, someone called out. It was a young alien, barely more than a child by the look of it. Please, we cannot move the debris. Without thinking, Tae-min and his crew began pulling at the twisted metal. It was hot and sharp, cutting their hands, but they did not stop. Slowly, inch by inch, they created an opening large enough for the trapped aliens to crawl through. There were 12 of them, from 6 different species. They stared at the humans with something that looked like shock. Why did you save us? One of them asked. You do not even know us. Tae-min wiped blood from his hands onto his already ruined uniform. Because someone needed help, he said simply. Now let us get out of here before this whole section explodes. They made it back to the docking bay just as the pirates retreated, apparently satisfied with whatever they had stolen. The horizon was still intact, which was a minor miracle. As Tae-min and his crew boarded their ship, he noticed that many of the aliens who had ignored them before were now watching with different expressions on their faces. The council called them back the next day. This time the chamber was quieter. The crystal being who had mocked them before now spoke with what sounded like respect. You risked your lives for strangers, it said. This is not common behavior, even among the most advanced species. Perhaps we have underestimated humanity. Tae-min stood tall. We are not perfect, he said. But we know how to stand up when others fall. We know how to fight when others run, and we know how to hope when others have given up. If that is not worth something to this council, then perhaps we do not need to be here. There was a long silence. Then, one by one, the council members began to tap their appendages against their seats, creating a rhythmic sound that filled the chamber. Tae-min would learn later that this was how they showed approval. Earth will be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Council, the voice announced. You will be watched closely, but you have earned the right to try. As the horizon made its way back to Earth, Tae-min looked at his crew. They were exhausted, injured, and their ship barely held together, but they had done it. The distress call came at 3 a.m. Earth time. Hyun-soo was already awake when the alert sounded. He had not been sleeping well for weeks, not since he volunteered for the Defense Force. Too many thoughts kept him up at night, too many worries about what was coming. The message played on every screen in the barracks. A voice translated into dozens of languages spoke with obvious terror. This is Colony Verath. We are under attack by the Vrathan swarm. The Galactic fleet has abandoned us. If anyone can hear this, please help. We have civilians, children. Please, anyone. The message cut off abruptly, replaced by silence that felt louder than any scream. Yun-Su sat up in his bunk and looked around. Other soldiers were waking up, confusion on their faces. They were all volunteers. 300 humans who had signed up to defend Earth after the Krathan Consortium, and other groups had started circling like vultures. But Earth was safe for now. Colony Verath was not even a human settlement. We are not going, are we? Someone asked in the darkness. That is not our fight. Yun-Su stood up and began putting on his armor. It was not fancy, just reinforced plates over a flexible suit. Human technology was still years behind the rest of the galaxy, but it worked, and that was enough. Where are you going? His bunkmate asked. To volunteer, Yun-Su replied simply. Within an hour, a meeting was called. Commander Lee stood at the front of the room, a tablet in his hands showing the desperate message from Colony Verath. He looked tired, older than his 40 years. I will not lie to you, Commander Lee said. This is not our fight. Colony Verath belongs to the Telvari people. They are peaceful farmers and artists. They have no weapons, no military. The Vrathan swarm is a hive species, insects the size of dogs that attack in millions. The Galactic fleet was protecting the colony, but when the Vrathan numbers grew too large, they retreated. Standard protocol. Do not risk valuable ships for a colony that cannot pay for protection. Someone in the crowd spat on the ground. Cowards, maybe, Commander Lee said. But they are following their laws, their procedures. We have no obligation to go. But I am asking for volunteers. This will be dangerous. The Vrathan are relentless. We might not come back. But if we do not go, thousands of civilians will die. The decision is yours. Yun-Su raised his hand immediately. Then another hand went up, and another. Within minutes, almost everyone in the room had volunteered. Commander Lee nodded slowly, something like pride in his eyes. Get ready. We leave in 2 hours. The transport ship was provided by one of the council members who disagreed with the fleet's withdrawal. It was fast but lightly armed, meant for cargo rather than combat. Yun-Su sat with the other volunteers, checking his weapon for the 10th time. Next to him was Da-Yun, one of the medics. She was younger than him, barely 22, with steady hands and a calm demeanor that never seemed to break. First real combat? She asked him. Yes, Yun-Su admitted. You? Same, I trained as a doctor. Never thought I would be heading into a war zone. She smiled slightly. Strange how life works. The ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Colony Verath. Immediately, alarms began blaring. The view screen showed what looked like a dark cloud surrounding the planet. But it was not a cloud. It was millions upon millions of Vrathan insects, their bodies reflecting the light of the colony's sun. Mother of God, someone whispered. Commander Lee's voice came through the speakers. Listen up. The colony has approximately 4,000 civilians in a central shelter. The shelter can hold for maybe 3 days before the Vrathan break through. The Galactic fleet retreated 6 hours ago. We are all these people have. Our mission is simple. Hold the line until we can evacuate everyone. Questions? No one spoke. What was there to ask? They all knew this was probably a one-way trip. The ship landed in the colony's main square. The buildings were beautiful, made of some kind of crystalline material that caught the light. But many were already damaged, walls torn apart by the Vrathan swarm. Bodies lay in the streets, both Telvari and Vrathan. The insects were as large as the report said, with mandibles that could tear through metal. Yun-Su and the other soldiers spread out, establishing defensive positions around the shelter entrance. The Telvari civilians watched from behind the barriers, their large eyes full of fear and confusion. They looked like deer with long legs and soft features. They had never known war. Here they come, someone shouted. The Vrathan poured out of the damaged buildings like a living flood. They moved on 6 legs, incredibly fast, their wings creating a buzzing sound that filled the air. Yun-Su opened fire, his rifle burning through ammunition as insects fell by the dozens. But for everyone he killed, 10 more appeared. Fall back to position 2, Commander Lee ordered. They retreated in stages, always keeping the shelter protected. The Vrathan were relentless, attacking in waves that never seemed to end. Yun-Su's armor was already dented and torn. He had been bitten twice, the wounds bleeding but not enough to stop him. Beside him, another soldier took a hit to the shoulder. Da-Yun was there instantly, pulling the wounded man back and applying pressure to the wound. Keep fighting, she told him after a quick injection of painkillers. You will live. The first day lasted forever. When night fell, the Vrathan pulled back slightly, though they never fully stopped. Hyunsu sat with his back against a wall, hands shaking from exhaustion and adrenaline. He counted his ammunition. Not much left. Around him, other soldiers were in similar states. Injured, tired, running low on everything. Da-Yun moved among them, treating wounds with supplies that were dwindling fast. She had blood on her hands and uniform, none of it her own. She worked without stopping, her face focused and determined. How bad are the casualties? Hyunsu asked her when she passed. 23 injured. 5 critical. 0 dead. She said it like a victory, and maybe it was. Your species is stubborn. People keep fighting with injuries that should put them down. We are too stupid to know when to quit, Hyunsu joked weakly. Or too brave, Da-Yun replied. The second day was worse. The Vrathan changed tactics, attacking from multiple directions at once. The human defensive line bent but did not break. Soldiers fought through pain and exhaustion, covering each other when ammunition ran low. They used the environment, collapsing buildings to create barriers, setting fires to funnel the insects into kill zones. Hyunsu lost track of how many times he was injured. A bite on his leg, claws across his ribs, a mandible that nearly took his eye. Each time he fell back just long enough for Da-Un or another medic to patch him up. Then he returned to the line. It became mechanical, automatic. Shoot, move, cover, repeat. Do not think about the pain. Do not think about the odds. Just survive the next minute, then the next. On the morning of the third day, reinforcements arrived. Not the Galactic fleet, but something better. 3 more human transport ships carrying volunteers who had heard about Colony Varath and decided to help. They brought ammunition, medical supplies, and fresh soldiers. But more importantly, they brought hope. Evacuation ships are 2 hours out, Commander Lee announced. We just need to hold for 2 more hours. Can we do that? The answer was a roar of defiance from 300 exhausted, wounded, but unbroken humans. The final 2 hours were the longest of Hyunsu's life. The Vrathan seemed to sense that time was running out, and they threw everything at the human lines. The defensive positions collapsed one by one, forcing everyone back to the shelter entrance itself. They fought in close quarters now, using knives and fists when ammunition ran out. Hyunsu found himself back-to-back with Da-Yun. She had picked up a rifle from a fallen soldier, firing with one hand while using the other to inject herself with stimulants to stay awake. Her medical supplies were gone. All she could offer now was her presence and her weapon. I never thought I would kill anything, she said between shots. I became a doctor to save lives. You are saving lives, Hyunsu told her. Just in a different way. The evacuation ships landed in a storm of fire and chaos. Telvari civilians ran for the ramps, protected by human soldiers who formed a corridor of bodies and weapons. The Vrathan pressed from all sides, sensing their prey escaping. Hyunsu held his position at the entrance, firing until his rifle overheated and became useless. Then he used it as a club. Last ship, someone yelled. Everyone on board now. The humans retreated in an organized withdrawal, still firing, still covering each other. Hyunsu was one of the last aboard, pulling Da-Un up the ramp with him. As the ship lifted off, he looked down at the colony. It was overrun now, consumed by the swarm. But every civilian had made it out. Every single one. The ships jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving the Vrathan behind. In the cargo hold, humans and Telvari sat together in exhausted silence. Hyunsu looked at his fellow soldiers. They were covered in wounds, their armor destroyed, their weapons ruined. But they were alive. Against impossible odds, they had held the line. A Telvari elder approached Commander Lee, moving carefully on shaking legs. The elder placed a hand over its heart, a gesture of deep respect. Why? It asked simply. Why did you come? We are not your people. You owe us nothing. Commander Lee looked at his soldiers, then back at the Telvari. Because you needed help, he said, echoing the words Captain Taemin had spoken months ago at the council station. Humanity had taken its first real step into the galaxy, and they had done it not by 3 months had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. The news had spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Humans, the primitive species from a backwater planet, had been granted membership. Some civilizations celebrated this decision. Others thought it was a mistake that would cost lives. Jiwoo worked in a laboratory that did not exist 6 months ago. It was built underground in Seoul, hidden from the public eye. The council had provided some technology, but most of the equipment was still human-made, cobbled together from whatever scientists could find. She stared at the samples in front of her, unable to believe what the data was telling her. "Run the test again," she told her assistant, a young man named Dong Hyun, who had graduated top of his class before being recruited for this secret project. Dong Hyun nodded and began the process once more. Ji-woo watched the screens carefully, her heart racing. If the results were the same, everything would change. Not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. The test completed. The results were identical. "It is real," Dong Hyun whispered. "We actually heal that fast." Ji-woo sat down heavily in her chair. For weeks she had been studying human biology and comparing it to samples from other species that the Council had provided. What she discovered was impossible, except that it was not. It was real and measurable and absolutely terrifying. "Call Director Park," Ji-woo said. "He needs to see this immediately." Director Park arrived within the hour. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes, someone who had spent his entire life studying medicine. He looked at the data that Ji-woo presented, his expression growing more serious with each page. "You are certain about this?" he asked finally. "I have run the tests 50 times, Ji-woo replied. "The results never change. Humans heal approximately 10 times faster than the average galactic species. Our bones can repair themselves in weeks when it takes other species months or years. We can survive injuries that would kill most aliens instantly, and our pain tolerance is off the charts compared to everyone else." Director Park removed his glasses and rubbed his eyes. "Why? How is this possible?" Ji-woo pulled up an image of Earth on the holographic display. "Look at our world. Really look at it. Compared to most habitable planets in the galaxy, Earth is a death trap. We have extreme weather, dangerous predators, diseases that can wipe out entire populations, and natural disasters that happen constantly. Most species evolved on worlds that were much gentler than ours. They never needed to develop the kind of resilience that humans have. So we evolved to survive on a planet that is constantly trying to kill us," Director Park said slowly. "And now that same evolution makes us stronger than species with technology thousands of years ahead of ours." "In some ways, yes," Ji-woo confirmed. "Not in technology or intelligence, but in physical resilience and the ability to endure pain and injury. Humans are exceptional. The Council does not know this yet. I do not think they have studied human biology closely enough to realize what we are capable of." Director Park was quiet for a long moment. "If this information gets out, how will the other species react?" "I do not know," Ji-woo admitted. "Some might see us as valuable allies. Others might see us as a threat. But we cannot hide this forever. Eventually, someone will notice." That someone turned out to be a Vestian scientist named Rel Quinn, who worked at a medical facility on one of the Council stations. A human worker named Jun-ho had been injured during a construction accident. A metal beam had fallen on his leg, breaking it in 3 places. The Vestian doctors had prepared to put him in medical stasis, the standard procedure for such serious injuries, but Jun-ho had refused. "I cannot afford to be in stasis for 6 months," he had argued through the pain. "Just set the bone and give me something for the pain. I will be fine." The Vestian doctors had thought he was insane. No species could heal from such an injury without stasis. The bone would never set properly. He would be crippled for life. But Jun-ho had been insistent, and eventually they had agreed to do as he asked, certain they would be putting him in stasis within days when the pain became too much. 6 weeks later, Jun-ho was walking again. Not just walking, but running. The Vestian doctors were stunned. They ran every test they could think of. The bone had healed perfectly. There was no permanent damage. It was as if the injury had never happened. Rel Quinn sent a report to the Council immediately. Within hours, Ji-woo received a message requesting her presence at the main Council station. They wanted answers, and they wanted them now. Ji-woo traveled to the station aboard a Council transport ship. It was much faster than any human vessel, covering in days what would take the Horizon months. She brought all her research with her, stored on data drives that represented months of careful work. The Council had assembled a panel of the galaxy's top biologists and medical experts. They sat in a semicircle, looking down at Ji-woo as she stood in the center of the room. She felt very small and very alone. "Dr. Ji-woo of Earth," one of them began. It was a being made of what looked like living metal, its voice resonating like a tuning fork. "We have reviewed the case of the human worker Jun-ho. His recovery was remarkable. Impossible by all known medical standards. Explain this. Jiwoo took a deep breath and began her presentation. She showed them the data, the comparisons, the evolutionary history of humanity. She explained about Earth and its dangers, about how humans had survived by becoming incredibly resilient. She laid out everything she had discovered. The panel listened in silence. When she finished, they began asking questions. Some were skeptical. Others were fascinated. A few seemed frightened, though Jiwoo could not understand why. This healing factor, one of them asked. Does it have limits? Of course, Jiwoo replied. We are not immortal. We can still die from severe trauma, disease, or old age, but we can survive and recover from injuries that would be fatal to most species. We can fight through pain that would incapacitate others, and we can do it without advanced medical technology. This changes everything, the metallic being said. If humans can recover from battlefield injuries in weeks instead of months, if they can continue fighting while wounded, they would be the most effective soldiers in the galaxy. We are not soldiers, Jiwoo said quickly. We are people. We want peace just like everyone else. But if war comes, another panel member interjected, your species would have an incredible advantage. Other civilizations will see you as a threat. Or worse, they will see you as a resource to be exploited. Jiwoo felt a chill run down her spine. She had not considered that possibility. What do you mean, exploited? The panel members looked at each other. Finally, one of them spoke. There are species in this galaxy who are not part of the Council. Pirates, mercenaries, slavers. If they learn about human resilience, they will come for your people. They will try to capture humans and use them as soldiers or test subjects. Your healing factor is worth more than any technology. Then we will protect ourselves, Jiwoo said firmly. We have survived on a dangerous world for millions of years. We can survive this too. Perhaps, the metallic being said. But you should know that this information cannot be suppressed. It is already spreading. Within weeks, every civilization in the galaxy will know about human resilience. Your species has become very interesting to a lot of people, and not all of them have good intentions. Jiwoo returned to Earth with a heavy heart. She reported everything to Director Park and the human representatives on the Council. Emergency meetings were held in every major government on Earth. Everyone wanted to know the same thing. What would happen now? The answer came sooner than anyone expected. A week after Jiwoo's presentation, a massive starship appeared in Earth's orbit. It was not a council vessel. The design was unfamiliar, covered in weapons and armor plating. It broadcast a message on all frequencies. People of Earth, we are the Krathen Consortium. We have heard about your unique biology. We wish to offer you a business proposition. We will pay handsomely for volunteers to serve in our security forces. Your healing abilities would be extremely valuable to us. Consider our offer carefully. The message ended, but the ship remained in orbit, waiting. In her laboratory, Jiwoo stared at the ceiling and wondered what she had unleashed. She had wanted to help humanity understand itself better, to show the galaxy what humans were capable of, but now that knowledge had painted a target on every human being in the galaxy. Director Park found her there hours later, still staring at nothing. What have I done? She asked quietly. You told the truth, Director Park replied. That is never wrong. But truth has consequences, and now we must face them. The Krathen are not the only ones coming, Jiwoo said. There will be others. Some will want to hire us. Some will want to study us. Some will want to capture us. All because we can heal faster than everyone else. Then we prepare, Director Park said. We train. We defend ourselves. And we make sure that everyone knows that humans are not victims. We have survived on the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. We will survive this too. Jiwoo wanted to believe him. She wanted to think that humanity would be okay, but as she looked at the data on her screens, showing just how different humans were from every other species, she could not say. That is reason enough. Word of the defense of Cole, the council chamber, had never been so full. Representatives from every member species crowded into the space, filling seats and standing in the aisles. The gallery above was packed with observers and media drones recording everything. Young Me stood at the center of it all, feeling the weight of thousands of eyes upon her. She was Earth's ambassador now, chosen after the events at Colony Vareth had made humanity impossible to ignore. At 38 years old, she had spent her entire career in diplomacy, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. The council was about to vote on a proposal that would change everything for humanity and for the galaxy itself. Ambassador Young Mi of Earth, the council speaker announced. Its voice amplified through the chamber. You have requested this session to propose a new role for your species within the galactic community. The floor is yours. Young Mi took a deep breath and stepped forward. She had practiced this speech 100 times, but now that the moment was here, the words felt heavy on her tongue. Honored council members, she began. 3 months ago, my people defended Colony Vareth when the galactic fleet retreated. We lost no civilians. We saved every single life in that colony, but we paid a price for that victory. She paused, letting the silence stretch. Everyone in the chamber knew what was coming next, but it needed to be said aloud. My younger brother was among the volunteers who went to Verath. His name was Young Jae. He was 26 years old, a teacher before he became a soldier. He loved music and terrible jokes. He died holding the line so that others could escape. He was not the only one. 23 humans gave their lives at Colony Vareth. 23 people who had never met the Telvari, who had no reason to be there except that it was the right thing to do. Young Mi's voice cracked slightly, but she pushed on. She had cried for her brother in private. Here she needed to be strong. The council has a problem, she continued. There are thousands of colonies across the galaxy. Many of them are vulnerable, unable to defend themselves. The fleet cannot protect everyone, and even when they are present, they retreat when the cost becomes too high. That is logical. That is practical, but it means that innocents die while the powerful watch from a safe distance. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Some council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Young Mi was saying things that everyone knew but no one wanted to acknowledge. Humanity is offering a solution, Young Mi said. Grant us the role of guardians. Let us be the ones who stand between the vulnerable and those who would harm them. We do not ask for payment. We do not ask for territory or resources. We ask only for the right to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Before Young Mi could continue, a council member stood up. It was Sang Woo, representing one of the other human factions on Earth. He was older, with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen too much political maneuvering. He had opposed Young Mi's proposal from the beginning. I must object, Sang Woo said loudly. Ambassador Young Mi speaks for herself, not for all of humanity. This proposal would turn our people into the galaxy's mercenaries, throwing away human lives for strangers who will never appreciate the sacrifice. Young Mi turned to face him. They had debated this dozens of times in closed meetings, but now it was public. Representative Sang Woo, with respect, the humans at Colony Vareth were volunteers. No one forced them to go. They chose to help because they believed it was right. And 23 of them died for that belief, Sang Woo shot back. How many more will die if we accept this role? 100? 1,000? We have been part of the galactic community for less than a year, and already we are being asked to bleed for it. When will it be enough? The chamber erupted in noise. Council members began arguing with each other in a dozen different languages. Young Mi stood silently, waiting for order to be restored. She knew Sang Woo's concerns were valid. She shared some of them herself. But she also knew what her brother had told her the night before he left for Verath. Someone has to stand up, Young Jae had said. If not us, then who? The council speaker called for silence, and gradually the noise died down. This is clearly a contentious issue, it said. We will hear arguments from both sides before we vote. Representative Sang Woo, please present your position. Sang Woo walked to the center of the chamber. He moved with confidence, his posture straight and his voice clear. I do not dispute that what happened at Colony Vareth was heroic. But heroism should not be policy. If we accept this guardian role, we are painting a target on every human in the galaxy. We become the ones that everyone calls when there is danger. We become expendable. He turned to address the entire chamber. Look at the data. Humans heal faster than other species. We can endure more pain. We are physically resilient. These are facts. But they do not make us immortal. We can still die, and if we become the galaxy's guardians, we will die in large numbers. Is that what we want for our species? To be remembered as brave fools who threw away their lives for people who would not do the same for us? Several council members nodded in agreement. Young Mi could see the doubt spreading across the chamber. Sang Woo was a skilled politician, and he knew how to play on fears and uncertainties. Furthermore, Sang Woo continued, this proposal benefits everyone except humans. The council gets a military force that costs them nothing. Vulnerable colonies get protection without having to develop their own defenses. And humanity gets what? Honor? Glory? These things do not feed families. They do not rebuild destroyed ships. They do not bring back the dead. He paused for effect. I propose an alternative. If the Council wants human assistance, they should pay for it. Provide us with technology, resources, and support. Make it worth our while. That is fair. That is reasonable. Anything else is exploitation. The chamber erupted in discussion again. Young Mai watched as council members leaned toward each other, debating in hushed tones. Sang-woo had made strong points. She could not deny that. But he was also missing something crucial. When the speaker called for silence again, Young Mi stepped forward. May I respond? You may, Ambassador. Young Mi looked at Sang-woo, then at the assembled council members. Representative Sang-woo is correct about many things. This role will be dangerous. Humans will die, and yes, we are being asked to give more than we receive. But he is wrong about one thing. This is not exploitation if we choose it freely. She pulled out a data pad and held it up. After the news from Colony Vareth spread, we opened recruitment for a Guardian force. We expected maybe a few thousand volunteers. Instead, we received applications from over 2 million humans. 2 million people willing to risk their lives to protect strangers. These are not politicians or soldiers looking for glory. They are teachers and farmers and engineers. Ordinary people who believe that strength comes with responsibility. Young Mi's voice grew stronger. My brother died at Colony Vareth. That loss will stay with me forever. But I also received letters from 12 Telvari children that he saved. They sent drawings and messages thanking the humans who protected them. One of them wants to become a doctor because of what our medics did. Another wants to study human history. These children are alive because my brother and others like him chose to stand up. She turned to address the entire chamber. Representative Sang-woo asks when it will be enough. I say it will never be enough as long as innocents are dying, while we have the power to stop it. Yes, we will lose people. Yes, it will hurt. But that is what makes it meaningful. If there was no cost, no sacrifice, then it would not matter. We would be no different from the species who calculate acceptable losses and retreat when the math does not work in their favor. A Telvari council member stood up. It was one of the elders from Colony Vareth, invited specifically for this session. May I speak? The council speaker nodded. The Telvari elder moved to the center of the chamber with slow, careful steps. I am Velthan. I was on Colony Vareth when the humans came. I watched them fight for 3 days without rest. I saw them wounded and bleeding but refusing to fall back. One of your medics, a young woman named Da-un, treated my granddaughter while fighting off the Vrathan with one hand. My granddaughter lives because of her. The elder's voice trembled with emotion. The humans did not know us. They owed us nothing. They came because we needed help. That is all. And when I asked their commander why they risked everything for strangers, he said it was simply the right thing to do. I have lived for 90 cycles. I have seen many species, many civilizations, but I have never seen anything like what the humans did. Velthan turned to face Young Mi. If humans become guardians, they will face danger and death. But they will also give hope to those who have none. They will show the galaxy that there are still species who care more about others than about profit or safety. That is not exploitation. That is inspiration. The chamber fell silent. Young Mi felt tears threatening to fall but held them back. The Telvari elder's words carried weight that her own could not. The council speaker finally broke the silence. We will now vote on the proposal. All in favor of granting humanity guardian status within the galactic community, please signify. Lights began appearing on the voting board. Green for yes, red for no. Young Mi watched as the count climbed, her heart pounding. The V. 6 months had passed since the council vote. Captain Taman stood on the bridge of the new Guardian vessel Sentinel, watching as Earth grew smaller in the viewport. It was the 5th deployment in as many months, and each one had been more challenging than the last. The ship was not fancy, still built with mostly human technology, but it carried a crew of 200 volunteers and a promise to protect those who could not protect themselves. The distress call came from a mining colony on the edge of Council space. Raiders had attacked, taking hostages and demanding ransom. The local authorities had no way to respond, and the galactic fleet was 3 days away. But the Sentinel was only 6 hours out. Set course, Taman ordered. Maximum speed. His second-in-command, a woman named Haiwan, nodded and relayed the orders. She had been with him since the beginning, when they first went to the council station and saved those aliens from the pirate attack. It felt like a lifetime ago now. Captain, we are getting reports from the other Guardian ships, Haiwan said, reading from her display. The Dawn responded to a medical emergency on Keltor Prime. The Vigilant is escorting refugees from a war zone. The Defender is investigating disappearances near the Outer Rim. We are spread thin. Taman knew she was right. Humanity had established 12 Guardian vessels, each one crewed by volunteers. But there were thousands of colonies and systems that needed protection. They could not be everywhere at once. We do what we can, Taman said. That is all anyone can ask. The Sentinel dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the mining colony. Immediately they could see the raider ships in orbit, smaller vessels bristling with weapons. The mining colony itself was on an asteroid, a collection of domes and tunnels carved into the rock. Open a channel to the raiders, Taman ordered. A face appeared on the view screen, reptilian with scales and cold eyes. The raider leader looked at Taman with obvious contempt. You are human, it said. The Guardians everyone talks about. You are fools to come here. This is none of your concern. You have hostages, Taman replied calmly. Release them and leave peacefully. No one needs to die today. The raider laughed, a harsh sound that made Taman's skin crawl. You have one ship. We have 5. You are outnumbered and outgunned. Turn around and go home, little Guardian. Play hero somewhere else. Last chance, Taman said. Release the hostages. The raider's expression turned ugly. We will kill 1 hostage every hour until our demands are met. Starting now, and if you interfere, we will kill them all. Their blood will be on your hands, human. The channel closed. Taman stood silently for a moment, thinking. The Sentinel was not a warship. It had weapons, but nothing that could take on 5 raider vessels in direct combat. They needed a different approach. Haiwan, get me Hyunsu, Taman said. Hyunsu appeared on the screen moments later. He was leading the Guardian ground forces, the soldiers who went in when diplomacy failed. He had recovered from his injuries at Colony Verath, though Taman could see new scars on his face. Captain, Hyunsu said, we need to get people onto that asteroid without the raiders noticing, Taman explained. Can it be done? Hyunsu studied the layout of the mining colony on his own screen. Maybe. The asteroid has dozens of old mining tunnels. If we can land on the far side, we might be able to infiltrate through the abandoned sections. But it will take time and we will be going in blind. Do it, Taman ordered. I will keep the raiders distracted. While Hyunsu and his team prepared for insertion, Taman opened another channel to the raiders. He started negotiations, offering terms and making counteroffers, anything to buy time. The raider leader grew frustrated, but Taman kept talking, kept stalling. On the far side of the asteroid, a small shuttle detached from the Sentinel and flew low, using the asteroid's mass to hide from the raider sensors. Hyunsu led a team of 30 soldiers through the airlock and into the darkness of the abandoned mines. The tunnels were cramped and dangerous, carved roughly through rock with equipment that had not been maintained in years. They moved in single file, weapons ready, lights cutting through the blackness. Every few minutes they heard the sounds of the colony above them, muffled voices and machinery. We are close, whispered Ji-sung, one of the scouts. He was young, only 20, but he moved through the tunnels like he had been born in them. There is an access shaft 50 meters ahead. It leads directly into the main dome. They reached the shaft and climbed carefully, trying not to make noise. At the top, Hyunsu cracked open the hatch and looked through. The main dome was huge, filled with equipment and storage containers. In the center he could see the hostages, about 40 of them huddled together and guarded by 6 raiders. We cannot take them all at once, Ji-sung said quietly. Not without risking the hostages. Hyunsu thought for a moment. We do not need to take them all. We just need to create enough chaos that they cannot react. On my signal, flash grenades and smoke. Then we move fast and get the hostages out. His team nodded. They had trained for situations like this, though training was never the same as reality. Hyunsu counted down on his fingers. 3, 2, 1. The grenades flew into the dome, erupting in blinding light and thick smoke. The raiders shouted in confusion, firing blindly. Hyunsu and his team poured out of the shaft, moving quickly toward the hostages. We are here to help, Hyunsu shouted to the terrified civilians. Follow us now. The hostages scrambled to their feet, following the human soldiers back toward the shaft. The raiders were recovering from the flash grenades, starting to organize a response. Bullets ricocheted off the rock walls. One of Hyunsu's soldiers grunted as he was hit in the shoulder, but he kept moving, helping a civilian who had stumbled. They made it back to the tunnels with all the hostages. Behind them, They could hear the raiders giving chase. But in the narrow tunnels, the raiders' numbers were meaningless. The humans held them off in a fighting retreat, using the terrain to their advantage. Above on the Sentinel, Taman saw the raider ships starting to move toward the asteroid's surface. They had realized what was happening. "Hey, One, prepare to fire on those ships. Do not let them land." The Sentinel's weapons were not powerful, but they were enough to make the raiders reconsider. Energy beams lanced out, striking one of the raider ships and damaging its engines. The other ships scattered, returning fire but keeping their distance. In the tunnels, Hyunsu and his team reached the far side of the asteroid with the hostages. They loaded everyone onto the shuttle as quickly as possible. The last soldier aboard was Ji-sung, and just as he turned to enter, a raider appeared at the far end of the tunnel and fired. The shot hit Ji-sung in the back. He fell forward into the shuttle, and Hyunsu caught him, pulling him inside as the hatch sealed. "Medic!" Hyunsu shouted. Da-yoon was there instantly. She had been assigned to the Sentinel after Colony Verath, unable to stay away from the work that had given her purpose. She cut away Ji-sung's armor and went to work, her hands steady despite the shuttle lurching as it took off. "You're going to be fine," she told Ji-sung, though his wound was serious. "Stay with me." The shuttle made it back to the Sentinel, and the ship jumped to faster-than-light travel before the raiders could organize a pursuit. In the medical bay, Da-yoon worked for 3 hours to stabilize Ji-sung. When she finally stepped out, exhausted and covered in blood, Hyunsu was waiting. "He will live," Da-eun said. "The bullet missed anything vital. He will be back on his feet in a few weeks." "You saved him," Hyunsu said. "We saved each other," Da-eun replied. "That is what we do." In his quarters, Taman wrote his report for the council. Another successful mission, another group of innocents saved. But he also noted the injuries, the close calls, the moments when everything could have gone wrong. They had been lucky this time. Next time, they might not be. A message came through from Ji-woo, still on Earth working in her laboratory. She had been monitoring the Guardian missions, collecting data on injuries and recovery times. Her research continued to show that humans were uniquely suited for this kind of work, but she also warned that they were not invincible. "You cannot save everyone," her message read. "Please remember that. Do not let the burden break you." Taman closed his eyes and thought about all the missions, all the people they had saved. He thought about the ones they could not reach in time, the colonies that fell before the Guardians arrived. He thought about the volunteers who had been injured or killed doing this work. Was it worth it? That was the question Sang-woo had asked during the council debate. Was this role worth the cost? Taman thought about the 40 hostages they had just rescued. He thought about the Telvari children from Colony Verath. He thought about the refugees they had escorted to safety and the medical supplies they had delivered to plague-stricken worlds. Each one was a life saved, a story that continued because humans had decided that some things were worth fighting for. Ambassador Young-mi contacted him later that day. "Captain, I wanted to tell you personally. The Council just approved funding for 20 more Guardian vessels. Other species are starting to contribute resources and technology. What you are doing is inspiring people." "It is not me," Taemin said. "It is everyone. Every volunteer who signs up. Every medic who patches us back together.